Hey, and happy Thanksgiving to you all. What are you thankful for? What makes you feel gratitude? Hopefully it's something every day. You do that many times a day, I hope. This is our second episode this week. It's an odd episode where we'll only talk about spoilers on the things we've mentioned in our previous episode yesterday. We got 2 episodes out in 1 week. That's kind of weird too. We here at Taking It Down cover TV and streaming, and normally we do it in a bifurcated manner so you can hear the first segment as a bit of a recommendation on a show or movie or whatever, and then on the back half we dissect the shows or movies much more specifically. Not today though, it's all spoilers. We ruin Welcome to Derry on HBO at least through 3 episodes that have aired, not all 5, but 3. We'll discuss the historical thriller on Netflix Death by Lightning, about President Garfield. It's way better than it sounds. And finally, we try to wrap our heads around all of the 4 episodes of Pluribus, which is on Apple TV. It may be why you're here. Thanks for clicking play. Maybe you're cooking. Maybe you got the day off. Leaves are hitting the ground. You're ready for TV. So here we go. Let me get Donovan to join me.
Alabama take projection.
And here he is. It's Donovan again. Of course, we were with you yesterday while you were cooking. Now you might be eating or cooking more. Thanksgiving, I don't know. Are we thankful for anything? Just one more go-round of Thanksgiving?
Yeah. Thanksgiving. I'm thankful for my many streaming subscriptions.
Yeah. Thankful for your nieces?
Yeah, they're cute. I got nieces and nephews. They are really cute.
Oh, nephew.
I got 2. 2 nieces, 2 nephews.
Okay. Thankful for our listeners, of course. Thank you for listening. So there's Donovan. He's with me. This is it was kind of weird this week. Because it's Thanksgiving, because it's a little bit of a break, we're doing all spoilers this episode. There's your warning. If there's something you want to hear specifically, find it. It's time-stamped. We do a really good job of time-stamping it, so you can just click on it in your app. I use Apple Podcasts. You use whatever. Click on that little highlighted number, the timestamp, and we won't spoil anything else for you other than what you're seeking. And we'll go in the same order we did yesterday, just with some exceptions that didn't plan on talking about any in spoiler terms.
Spoiler, the French get involved. That's for the American Revolution.
That was the American Revolution. If you listened yesterday, you know.
If you didn't know.
If you're watching the Ken Burns series, message us. Hit us up. Be interested to know. Or leave a comment on the site. That's really the best way to do it. Unless you're just really private and you want to send an email. That's fine. Forgive my congested sound. Still trying my best to boot that out of my system. Let's get to our first topic. Let's not waste any more time. It is Welcome to Derry. Now the setup here is I have watched 4 of the 5 episodes that are out. Donovan has seen 3 of the 4. So we're really going to go as deep as 3 episodes. Maybe a little smattering of episode 4, but not a lot. So don't freak out if you haven't seen episodes 4 or 5 if you're playing catch up. So here we go. Let's talk some specifics about Welcome to Derry based on the Stephen King book It and the 2 recent films of the same name. I thought that 3rd episode we're going to really get into was a bit meddling.
It felt like it was setting up a lot of different things. Especially I felt like the first 2 episodes had really kind of good centerpieces. And this one, it has a big extended sequence in a graveyard. And it's good and it's exciting. But, I didn't turn off my TV during the middle of it. I hate this. But It felt like it was setting some stuff up.
No, we mentioned yesterday that something about it still makes us want to watch. I think it's just where are they going to go with it? What are they going to do? How are they going to try to scare us? What's the Air Force up to? I don't know. I want to know that. This episode's called Now You See It. I don't know, it's just sort of a wobbly episode than the first two. I thought the first two were mostly solid. Maybe it was the multiple timelines feeling a bit jarring or pieced together, stitched together without some real glue between them.
I was okay with that, and this is seeming to be, this may be a feature, not a bug, but for some this is just how my dumb brain works. The whole, like, Francis, the Air Force colonel, which I think he's a general, he's like, he doesn't even remember Rose, the indigenous woman now, but girl that when he was a boy, he befriended. But how does he have that dang slingshot if he can't remember? It's something about the memory thing. Maybe I was like, you're gonna have to go more into this. I'm not sure if this works for me.
And I think that's supposedly mentioned in one of the two films. Where
I'm sure it is.
When you leave Derry, your memory is hindered.
Okay, I'm sure it is then. So this may be just me being a neophyte for the It series, the It universe. Not really. I'm okay with it as a concept, but I'm like, how does it work? Like, how could he remember enough to bring like the Air Force in?
It covers their butts for why doesn't the rest of the world know about this place? And
I'm fine with that as a plot device. Yeah, that may be a completely invalid piece of criticism. That's just the one thing that really stuck out for me. Still enjoy Chris Chalk.
Yes. Well, before we move away from the flashback, the extended flashback, I suppose it wasn't a flashback; it's probably a whole set of sequences. They did this one thing that I've always found distasteful in Stephen King and his books.
Okay,
movies, books. Is the dialogue, and I can even narrow it down to the dialogue of parents talking to children or older teens talking to younger teens. When the young Francis comes out scared to death of what he saw in the freak show, his father doesn't comfort him at all. I just don't feel like I've ever seen in a Stephen King book or movie a father go, "It's okay, man. You're okay." And I know the time period, and I know, but it's like 100%. Seriously, his father says, "Don't be a damn sissy." And I would like to see some subversion of that writing or style, to have him actually worried about what scared you? Why would that scare you? It's just a very good place for them to start thinking about and talking about fear and hinting that this is an entity that revolves around fear. Mm-hmm. But I've always found it distasteful that it seems like there's always a parent who's like, pick it up, you son of a bitch.
I can't remember. I haven't read a ton, but there's no shortage of poor parenting in the Stephen King. Carrie's mother famously was very good. Was very good at her job.
It's one of his tropes for sure.
Yeah, part of it. Blaine, I don't disagree or discount anything you said. Part of me just wonders if it's like conflict drives narrative, and so it's like I wonder if that's why he's doing it, just because he writes so much. This is idle speculation. I don't think you're wrong or that anything you said is amiss.
Yeah. And King does it, of course. I just thought that the makers of this show had an open door here to say, ooh, let's do it the other way.
And maybe they will. But I do think that, and maybe they're going to be more explicit or I'll see more of it. But I think you kind of mentioned it's a missed opportunity, Blaine. I think that there was kind of an interest, and it wasn't super duper explored, but like the fears that all children, but especially sensitive children, have, and the way, of course, we're often told by our societies, little boys especially, like, well, get over it. Mm-hmm. And it didn't really seem like, so if you're going to have the dad be like, hey, don't be a sissy. Mm-hmm. He met Rose and he had a scary encounter and it was all mostly okay. Instead of like the way, like you can almost be afraid of being afraid. You're ashamed of it when you're, if you're told you're not supposed to be afraid. But how are you supposed to feel as a child when you're put into a scary situation? Or
the situation itself, I thought was well filmed and well done. With the guy with the one eye and he lights the match and he spooks him and he's a real presence. And then, of course, Francis goes out into the woods, meets the indigenous Rose. She's a native of the area, and before he meets her, and they play and become friends, and and then the fear of that happening returns to him because the entity knows that's what he's afraid of. Yeah, sometimes that's not that clear. Sometimes you're like, oh wait, was that the entity in the freak show or not?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not too clear, and that's fine. I'm not griping about it. I'm just saying that sometimes you sit there and wonder. That's actually an okay thing.
Yeah, I think they want to do that. I think that's intentional.
I suppose Will's parents are really kind-hearted and normal.
Yeah, that's true.
And we'll flip over to the good thing about this episode is that the interaction between Chris Chalk and Adepo as the two military guys. Excuse me, Air Force. Well, Air Force, military.
Military, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So Adepo has taken, let me call them both by character names.
Yeah.
Leroy has taken Dick up into a helicopter for the purpose of let's triangulate where this entity might be. The military wants it for Cold War purposes. We don't know really yet, and that's intriguing. They want to harness it somehow. So they take him up. First time they've really done this, because Dick can sense certain things, and he does sense the entity, and he senses, if you're familiar with the movies or the book at all, you know that he kind of gets to where the entity normally stays underground. Mm-hmm. And he gets a little bit of a peek at him at best before Leroy pulls him back into reality. Mm-hmm. I thought that was pretty good.
I like that whole sequence.
I did too.
I like Chris Chalk as part of it, and I thought it was actually frightening. Like being in a nightmare is inherently frightening. And maybe this is just the kind of nightmares that I've had, but like I have had nightmares where it's like, oh, I'm trying not to be seen by something. I'm trying to hide. And that's what he expressed, that it had seen him.
It's certainly a character trait he would want because he has this special ability, and if he lets too many people know, he's going to get used, killed, hurt.
Yeah.
But it gives us the later conversation where Leroy and Dick sit at... Dick Halloran comes over, has dinner with Off Base. You get the sense that's something he doesn't do a lot. And they're trying to establish a friendship. And I liked it because you get these two actors talking about who they are. Mm-hmm. Well, where are we in this? What do you see? What do I see? What's real? Mm-hmm. What's not? And I like that because apparently Leroy's character, we mentioned this before, he can't feel fear, right? Something about an injury he has had.
His amygdala has been damaged.
Yeah.
So he's not suicidally reckless, but he's not afraid.
Is that a real thing that could happen to someone?
I mean, I don't know, probably.
Yeah.
My understanding is the amygdala is fairly central. Folks that actually paid attention in anatomy and physiology, please correct me if I'm wrong. I think they kind of allude to this in the first episode, is that I think if your amygdala, where it's located in the brain, I think a lot of other things would get damaged as well. So I don't think you would be.
Oh,
I mean, I'm sure there are people out there who've been hurt in a way not such as not to feel fear, but I do not believe that those people are high functioning military or Air Force majors. I think there's a reason we feel fear, and that the amygdala is pretty central to our brain. So I think you would really hurt you would be severely brain damaged if you had something enter that area.
Yeah, because this is a show, and it might go multiple seasons if HBO likes its viewership. They could really explore that kind of thing. They could really dig into, why do we have fear? Where does that come from? Why do we imagine things and it makes us fearful? Mm-hmm. Evolutionary, speaking.
But it's kind of the ultimate question of horror, right? Like, we have enough to be scared about. Why do we invent new things to be scared about?
Yeah.
when sometimes those new things, of course, the answer is those new things that we're scared about are ways to talk about the old things we're scared about.
Yeah, practice and rehearsal, maybe.
Yep. Well, you know how little kids reenact things through play? If they see you talking on the telephone and having a conversation, they'll pretend, that it's, you talking to a friend, right? And they'll mirror your language.
They'll poop their diapers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Maybe grown-ups, maybe we do the same thing too, through play and imagination. We work things out.
Did you get a lot out of their conversation between Leroy and Dick when they were alone, and Leroy's wife was inside the house, so they get a chance to say, who are you exactly?
They get a chance to go one-on-one and kind of try and size each other up.
I like that Dick says, "You're the kind of guy who doesn't feel fear, and I'm not going to mess with you."
Yeah. Yeah. Dick is smart enough to opt for self-preservation when it comes to the major.
Yeah.
We feel fear for many of the same reasons we feel pain, right? Like there are people who can't feel pain. Mm-hmm. And they're in incredible danger every day of their life. These are people who will put their hand on a hot stove and not realize it, right? And actually end up really. So I think there's something kind of like, I'm kind of with Dick there, that there's something kind of fearsome and scary about a man who can't feel fear.
Right.
I liked that. That's the way I feel about it. I felt like Chris Chalk is doing a good way of, not that Dick is not a human being, but there's like, in a way, he's not a human being like the rest of us. Because everybody else can feel fear.
Right. But Dick can sense things. He has this ability.
Did I say Dick? I meant Leroy. Sorry, Dick feels that way about Leroy. And Dick can say, Leroy is not a human being in the same way that the rest of us are, in the sense that he can't feel fear. Or whereas Dick, even though he has extrasensory perception, he's still very much a human being. In the same way that we understand human being and human existence to be, because we just had in that great nightmare scene, him feeling fear.
Yeah.
I like both of these actors too, and I think they did a good job in the scene, playing off of each other.
I do too. As good as the kid actors are, and I think they've done a good job of picking them, and not the casting director did a great job of deciding upon who will be the four kids. It's still fun to see these two.
Yeah. And we'll see if the show's smart enough to follow up on this, but you were kind of talking about dads. Leroy obviously is feeling like he doesn't understand his son, but unlike the father at the fair, he's trying to reach out to him. Mm-hmm. He's trying to accommodate him. So maybe there's something there too about fear and support or lack of it.
Perhaps I overlooked that purposeful juxtaposition there.
Could be a missed opportunity, Blaine. I don't know.
Yeah. The other thing that felt forced to me was this overuse or bad CGI for the one-eyed man in the woods and the ghosts the kids encounter at the end of the graveyard. I just thought to myself, have we not improved how ghosts look since Ghostbusters in 1984?
Man in the woods, fine. It's a scary monster. I get it. It's cheaper. But there was a little bit of the Haunted Mansion to the ghosts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
And maybe that was intentional, because I do think, but it's hard to tell. Like sometimes the show is very, very dark with its kids, and sometimes there's sort of the element of like, hey, gee whiz, we're having an adventure, So I don't know. That fell more on the gee whiz, we're having an adventure side of things for me, as opposed to, say, Lily's dad in the grocery store, which I found deeply unsettling.
Yeah, from episode 2.
Yes.
It's probably interesting that I still look forward to it each Sunday. A lot of it has to probably do with the sincerity of the acting, which is odd because a lot of this hinges on one set of characters seeing the unbelievable and a whole other set of characters having to believe them for long stretches.
Yeah.
You wonder if horror wouldn't be better off if everyone just believes there were ghosts and evil entities right from the jump. And
Someone, not someone, some horror does go that direction. It is kind of like if you, I have read many a horror short story, Blaine, and I've read many a ghost story, and there does get to be a certain repetitiveness if you have stories where it's like, but ghosts can't be real, right? Like at a certain point, you're like, I'm reading a horror story. We all know it's a ghost. Right. That's not to say, which is not to say that people who disbelieve in ghosts and horror stories are fine too. It's a well written story can use any combination of tropes, but sometimes you're like, oh, we got to go through the mandatory like nobody believes the kids phase, like
right. Any prediction on how they're wanting to use this against Russia?
I mean, if something could make you so afraid that it would literally kill you,
yeah,
you could probably do a lot of harm with that.
Guess so.
It's more, I weaponize it and deploy it at a large scale is my guess. I don't know.
Be interesting to see how they try. All right.
We'll see what happens.
But that takes us to Netflix. This series, Death by Lightning. It's produced by Benioff and Weiss. I'm not sure how much of a hand they had in it. They, of course, were major creators and writers on Game of Thrones. And this series, Death by Lightning, just has a host of actors that do it in every scene.
There's really not a lot of downtime.
There's not. It is so
because
well paced for a historical drama or a thriller.
Because everyone is so good in it. There's like, you're not like, oh, these guys again. Everyone's great. Like all the actors are so good.
One thing I really love is that in the second episode, when it comes to Chester Arthur, the series makes it a point to demonstrate that people who are dedicated and effective at politics are usually the corrupt bastards you wish weren't in office for 50 years.
There's a real, I liked Arthur. There's a real, like he's a buffoon at times. He's obviously kind of the hatchet man, but there's a sadness to him at some points too. Nick Offerman's doing a great job as someone. He's doing a great job. I don't even almost know how to describe it. Like there's some times where he seems disappointed with himself. There's points where he's just drunk and it's funny, and he's like a bull in a china shop.
Totally. Isn't it weird that history reminds us that it takes history maybe sometimes to remind us that politicians have been money-grubbing assholes for as long as there's been politics?
There's an Onion article that like the headline is, Nation's historians ask people to look at the past, think about that happened then, and then ask themselves about the present, or something along those lines. And it is kind of true, right? Like there's the nothing new under the, like, this wasn't just invented.
Yeah.
Like as long as there has been power and those who can hold it, or those who would rather take a shortcut or have a little more or have all of it.
Yeah. And then there's how they painted Charles Guiteau. He's not only delusional, but this guy is desperate for something. Anything. Yeah. Matthew McFadden plays him with such a twitchiness. No one in their right mind would associate with him for too long, yet there's some sympathy there for him because he just wants his place in the world. I
mean, he is absolutely, he's tragic. I mean, I think Matt McFadden did a great job. There's the mix of like childlike naivete about him. You can see that he's deluded, and he's constantly, he's like a constant striver, right? Like he's constantly coming up with something else that's going to work, and then in his own mind, he's almost already achieved it. There's just a sadness to him.
Yeah, it is it's a deep and dark sadness you don't get with a lot of characters.
And he does such a good job of playing him as as he does with many of the characters in this show. But if this was the guy that came up to you on a street in a city, you'd be like, buddy, I need to get out of here. Like, I got to get away from you somehow, because you're not going to stop.
It's so good to have him in here because this is history, I'm guessing, but Garfield was a man who seemed to know his place. I'm a man who owns a farm. I need to work this farm. I need to be with my family. But Guiteau was lost at sea all the time.
He's looking for something, like you said. And that something is clearly many different things. It is pathos, but like there's humor too. Like the bit where like in the third episode, they illustrate just how annoying Guiteau is, where he's in the free love colony in Oneida, but no one will have sex with him.
Right.
He's constantly surrounded by people. And it's funny.
It is,
but it's
funny.
sad too. Like, but like who you wouldn't want to spend 10 minutes with this guy.
And as far as Guiteau goes, McFadden truly has to look down. Have you seen pictures of him?
No, I haven't. I guess I should look it up.
There may be just the one, but he looks just like him.
I feel like I almost don't have words for how much I appreciate what he's doing with his performance, because it just there is something like he makes you really feel something, and it's those different shades of complexity where it's like you feel bad for him, but also he's delusional, but also like there's sometimes he seems truly good natured, other time
definitely written and played more than one note.
For sure. Yeah. Because there's, in some ways he's innocent and harmless. And in other ways, he's going to take your money. He's going to break in. He's going to bother you. He's got, like there's the bit where he's the good uncle playing with his nephews or his nephews and nieces. I don't remember. Mm-hmm. And obviously loved by them and his sister. And then there's the kind of darker side to him.
That he steals their money.
And other unsavory things that he does. And we know from the get-go that he's going to kill someone.
Yeah. The producers and directors also understand that for history to appeal, for you to be engaged with it, you have to ensure that everyone understands that these historical characters were larger than life. So you employ your Bradley Whitford, your Nick Offerman, Michael Shannon, Betty Gilpin. You got to get somebody who's going to be like, oh, okay, I get it. I would vote for him.
Yes, I agree. They did a good job for me, too, as someone who personally doesn't know very much about this period in American history beyond what I think, like what a high school education would get you.
Yeah.
I feel like they've done a good job of giving me a good sense of what's going on. And I think part of that comes with the characters too, right? Like you have just the way it's done and introduced very organically. I felt like the different characters by their nature drew out like the concerns of the time, right? Like Garfield is worried about corruption. And so Sherman comes to him and they're going to basically he's basically a symbolic candidacy, right? And like the wheeling and dealing of just these two men, not really wheeling and dealing, but like talking and negotiating, did a good job of not only showing you, okay, here's who here's who Garfield is, mm-hmm. but just and if you didn't know much about this time period, President Grant was accused of selling offices, to France. So very deftly handled, I thought, for something, because it is very short.
Yeah.
It's not expansive. They don't have a great span of time to work with. There's only a few episodes.
Well, you got to admire a man who says he'll campaign from home.
This made me want to learn more about James. I'm like, is any of this true? This makes me like James Garfield.
Yeah, some of it I think is quite true, yeah. And as CGI as they are, these sets in New York, old New York, still look so good.
Yeah, they do a pretty good job.
It's exciting to see the harbors that you probably have seen, but in that era, that time period's pretty well done. You get a sense of what it's like that you won't ever get anywhere else. Yeah, well,
especially a place like New York City, most of it's been knocked, if you're in Manhattan, most of it's been knocked down. It's not there anymore. Like you said, it's not there anymore.
I think that they do a very good blend. I've seen some complaints that the blend isn't quite balanced, but they do a good blend of the language seems right some of the time. But yet they keep the rest of it at a clip.
To my ear, I could see how some people maybe would complain about it, but to my ear, it worked.
Yeah.
Sometimes there is a bit of, like a phrasing seems a little quaint or old fashioned, but it's never distracting or slows it down. And sometimes, people will speak very modern colloquial English.
Yeah.
And it works for me. It's a blend. I understand that it's giving me kind of a flavor for things. I am able to understand that I'm not watching like something for like full historical accuracy here, right? Like it is drama. There are things that are made up. That's okay. Like it's telling, because it's speaking about, it's not wanting to just be a faithful historical reenaction, right? It's also got its own purposes.
Yeah. When Senator Blaine scoffs at the vice presidency, he says, that's an insult. It's the vice presidency. That's really good and probably not how he would say it. And then you get these turns of phrases that are almost eloquent and reminiscent of maybe what that era would be. Yeah, I really like the writing as far as just the simple dialogue of it all.
Dialogue is very good, I think. I agree with you. The characters are identified very well by their language. Garfield's a little slower to speak.
Yeah.
Some of his phrases are a little bit more antiquated, whereas, Conklin is very, very brash, very modern. He's swearing. He's,
Yeah. There's so much that are flip sides of each other. And I guess that's how history just sort of played out, maybe. So it was a good idea to mine this for a show. Garfield's simple, but he's asked to be president. Chester Arthur is a ruffian, but he's humbled to be vice president. Guiteau wants to be a man of import, but he's going about it in such dishonorable ways.
He doesn't even know what he's asking. The scene where he finally meets Garfield, it seems like he doesn't even know what to ask for.
The dog that catches the car.
Exactly. Like it's like this is his big shot. And Matthew he does such a good job just playing. Like that scene is almost painful to watch because you're just like, he's blowing it. And of course, you never thought he would pull it off. Yeah. But it's just like, he's floundering. He doesn't know what he wants.
Well, these are the moments where
he just wants to be important.
Where Garfield opened the doors of the White House and welcomed in the public during certain hours of the day. Do we need more of that today?
I think that the assassination of James Garfield is one of the reasons we don't do it anymore. But yeah, honestly, I do think that like, it's kind of like when your congressperson comes home and then they try and duck their constituents because their constituents are mad about what they did. It's like, you represent all the people, not just the people you voted for. You represent, the people who voted for you. You represent everyone.
And you don't hear that enough.
Nah.
There's a moment in the 4th episode where they probably talk about things that they didn't in reality, and where they're saying, how will history recognize us?
Yeah.
And I think that's but maybe they did. These guys are presidents and senators, and maybe they did think that way.
They lived through a historically tumultuous. These are all Civil War veterans. Not all of them, but a lot of them are Civil War veterans. They lived through the Civil War, emancipation, all that, the assassination of a president.
Yeah.
Everything that fought Reconstruction in the South. So maybe, I don't know, maybe they do have a sense that
maybe they do.
History will have its eyes on them. I don't know.
It's a good moment in that 4th episode. We will move on to a show with a very historical title, Pluribus. E Pluribus Unum, or whatever it is.
I think you got it.
Is that right?
I think that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's on our coins. Who has a coin?
Yeah, well, I don't have any of that.
Exactly.
I don't have any money. Pluribus on Apple TV got a lot of attention. It's got a lot of headlines. Still is, I think. I think the question might be, will it hold that attention? The first 2 episodes dropped at once, and it really was everywhere, it felt like. And we'll concentrate mainly on the last 2 of the 4 that are out. Grenade and Please Carol. That's the titles of them. Do you think audiences are going to be patient with this one enough?
That's kind of the trick sometimes with like this kind of high concept well, it's not really a mystery. It's a little bit of a mystery, but
a little bit.
Not a lot, but a little bit. Are you just like, tell me what happens? Or are you able to accept that you're watching a TV show that has to fill a whole season? Like they're not going to give you everything in the first episode.
That's true. Of course not. But we're all called up here, by the way, people. Pluribus, all 4 episodes are on the table for spoilers. There is some stretch to these episodes.
There is. I would agree with that.
Which reminds me of Better Call Saul. Like, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. Wait, let me back up. I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm just going to show you what I'm going to do. Yeah. And it's going to last the whole episode. And in this character's life, that actually might be the 45 minutes it takes to do whatever the thing is, or it might take all day.
But like even in the 4th episode, we have the man in Paraguay. He's somewhere in South America. Paraguay. I've forgotten. And we just see, like, for about 15 minutes of the show, we just see his routine. We see what he's doing.
Yeah, the cold open.
Yep. And we...
Did you yell at the screen, do something? Get up and do something.
I mean, yeah, we're all impatient these days, right? Like, no one has any patience. But I want to, and I think that patience will be rewarded. Because I do think that, like, there's something more. I think I got more out of that scene of him setting a timer, clicking the radio on a frequency, and waiting than I would have if he'd been like, if it had been a minute or something like that. Or if you just like, I've been clicking this radio all day, I don't know. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense.
I feel like having to sit with it. Like, sometimes you get a little antsy, but you
get a little antsy, but it's hypnotic too.
It is hypnotic, yeah.
And it's well shot. You get the close up with the pencil touching the paper. It's just something about
this is the same with like Carol's trying to dig a hole by herself. It's like we know she's not gonna necessarily, like, it's not the most fascinating thing in the world. She's digging a hole, but it puts you right there with the character.
Yeah, I didn't like Grenade as much as I did the 4th episode, which its title eludes me.
Please, Carol, right?
Please, Carol. Thank you.
Carol, please, or something like that. You just said it.
Let's take a step back and set this up, which we never did, because yesterday was our non-spoiler episode, and we divided it up. This is spoiler, so we can talk about it, but I mean, I would say it's high concept, and it's obviously high concept, but it's also kind of hard to understand, right?
Yeah.
The idea is that scientists found these messages from space, right? These 4 kind of messages. Am I right about this?
Yeah, they're like radio waves, frequencies, something.
Yeah.
And it rewired our brains.
And then but it didn't just rewire our brains. It kind of set off a transferable sort of, I don't know, disease is the only way I could think about it.
It is like a disease. You had the infection points. All those people went on to infect other people. Mm-hmm. We've seen this with zombies.
Yeah, it was a lot like that, except higher level thinking.
It's the invasion of the pod people. It's the zombie apocalypse. Except the next day, they're not actually trying to kill you. They just want to get you breakfast.
Well, they don't seem like they do. It's so questionable about what they're up to. And then, of course, when you die in the show, your thoughts and memories become part of the collective humanity. Everyone's connected mentally. And, that's one of the main points happening in these early episodes with Carol. Because her girlfriend, and I think she kind of had a managing role for her as an author.
I think she helped with her career.
Yeah, she's really disturbed that they know Helen's memories, her girlfriend who has died due to this invasion, connection, whatever you want to call it.
And it's a very, I think, kind of like smart and primal fear, because if you're everyone, aren't you really no one? There's almost, it almost is like questions or thoughts of, for instance, survival after death, right? Like, if I am reabsorbed into the universe, am I okay with that? Am I still I? Like, is there any I to be okay with that? Like, do I lose myself? Is this better? Is this worse?
There's not a little segment of you anymore. There's not a little segment of you. Is there?
Who knows? Are you the same, the people who have been integrated into this consciousness? Are there really 3 billion people in there? Or is it just one person? One entity?
Well, some of that gets answered in episode 4, which we won't.
Some of it does, but I think that those are kind of still the under, like, those are the questions that like trouble Carol and potentially us, right? Or hopefully us, right? Because we're, Carol, this apocalypse has turned into somewhat of a utopia, but Carol's not on board.
Right. The episode Grenade opens with a very prickly Carol and her girlfriend / manager, Helen, taking in this really bespoke hotel in Norway made of ice. The hotel's made of ice. And
that was scarier to me than anything you can dream up.
Dude, I was not going to hang there. But Carol can't stop thinking about where her book is on the bestseller list. This was years before when I guess her first one has come out. You get the feeling she doesn't enjoy a ton of things.
Yeah. Yes, I would agree with that.
I kind of wanted to, and I love Ray Seahorn. She was so good at Better Call Saul, and you pulled for her. Yet here in this series, I wanted to say to her, enjoy it. And in modern day, Carol is on the plane from Spain with Zosa. I think her name is. She's kind of become her little helper, her guide since all this has happened. They've just met the only people who did not get connected to the rest of the billions of the world after the alien signal.
All, 12 of them? 13? Something like that?
Yeah, it's a low number.
It's a very low number.
That's where you find out about the guy from Paraguay who you do end up seeing in the 4th episode. There's some of this, for it to work well, I think you have to maintain this image of this feeling of love that we didn't really see much between Carol and Helen. Carol's burying her in the backyard, and that's harrowing and even touching, sad, but, there's a believability, like, how much did she care about Helen? I didn't quite see enough of that.
Mm-hmm. Actually works really well for me because, I'm fine if we see more of their relationship, but just being all in the aftermath and her grief and her anger, like her anger and fear seems really driven by that loss.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I lost an individual. Like, you're not a substitute for that individual. And that feels like it drives a lot of her decision, like a lot of her grief and despair. Like, if Helen was still alive and with her, maybe she'd be like those other families. Happy to, really at least weird. I can spend time with you in the flesh instead of, you're dead and somebody else has your memories.
Carol has to be really careful not to get angry with them. It puts them into the convulsions, which were similar to how they got into this connection. It maybe kind of injures or kills some of them who may be doing something like driving or flying a plane or something.
It's kind of great because it's like a psychoanalyst or a therapist would be like, this is an unhealthy relationship, right? Like, if you get mad at me, I'm going to have some of my people die. That's what's going to happen. Like, you can't lose your temper with me. You can't express anger.
Right. They can't.
Feels unhealthy.
Yeah, totally. They can't lie. They're willing to help to an extreme, but that just feels devious somehow. They get her the grenade, the title of the episode.
They give her a real grenade.
Yeah, a real one.
Yeah.
And she's like, what the hell are you doing?
And she asks, would you give me an atomic bomb? And they kind of hem and haw.
Yeah, do you want one?
It really makes you wonder, what kind of entity is this?
Right.
And is it, I don't know, maybe I'm completely on the wrong track, but is it the master or is it the servant?
How could it be the servant? Tell me how that works.
Well, why would it be so servile? Want to do nothing but please these individual personalities, want to give them things like heroin, atomic bombs, and hand grenades. Is this again, I could be completely out in left field here, but is this like this creature, this entity, is it built to serve something else? It has these instincts to serve and never lie. Mm-hmm. Why would it have those when everything's just going to be itself?
Well, it makes
maybe
Carol the master for a while.
that's what. Yeah. So I'm just curious. Maybe that's because it does. I wonder if it's like a tool of something else, basically.
Yeah, there's a lot to connect to. Forgive my pun. Connect to what Gilligan's doing here. They're robots. They're unfeeling. Is he saying that's what we are? Is he saying life's uninteresting? Is he saying we're all acting like a cult these days? Is he saying that AI has turned us into this sort of thing?
Well, and I think there's the interpretation that's somewhat carried out. We're always waiting for the other shoe to drop because we've seen, like Carol in the first or second episode says, like, we've seen this movie before. There's a bit where it's like, would it really be so bad? There's no more war. Everyone gets enough to eat. Suffering has mostly ended. If you're in, we can work to preserve the environment. It's like, is it so bad? What is us existing as individuals in the way that we do? Is that a good thing? I think it asks that too.
It's the only way communism's going to work.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, honestly, it's, we talked about with death by lightning, right? Like there's all like those, unless there's some system we haven't found, like those, there will always be those who like hoard and amass and take from others.
Yeah.
The haves and have-nots. Whereas all of a sudden, there's no child's going to go hungry in this new world.
Yeah, I found it odd that it started like an alien invasion almost, and then it quickly went away from that. You just don't see it quite, although they're all acting like aliens.
I really liked that because it did feel like we've seen this movie, we're waiting for the other shoe to drop, and we are given this fear, and initially very fearsome things are happening. People are convulsing, dying, crashing, and then it turns out it wasn't the end of the world after all.
Mm-hmm.
And Carol's stuck with that.
Well, they're pretty certain she's going to join them.
Yes, it's a biological imperative, they say.
Yeah, is it? I mean, that's a good question. Pluribus begs viewers to understand that Carol with a grenade, when she almost kills her guide, Zosha,
yeah,
isn't just about Carol with a grenade. If you watch this as like a collective humanity is the algorithm and constantly trying to show you what it thinks you want, that plays pretty hilariously, as well as furiously.
It made me laugh in the fourth episode where our good friend Joel from Somebody Somewhere is the representative of the entity.
Yeah, he's
and
yeah.
She's trying to figure out if it can lie, basically.
Yeah.
And she's trying to ask him what they liked about their books. And he's just like, everything. And she's like, you think I'm as good as Shakespeare? She's like, it feels like the kind of like the AI that like gasses you up, right? Like totally. If you've ever put in a prompt, the AI is like, wow, this question shows that you're a unique and creative thinker.
Exactly. And you believe it every time.
I mean, I read a very interesting essay by a philosopher named David Bentley Hart that said that we miss the real metaphor or story of AI is Narcissus, who Narcissus was cursed to fall so in love with he was beautiful, right? And he fell so in love with his reflection in the water that he wasted away and died. Whereas, there's not anything really there, but we're projecting ourselves, the things we want to see, the things we like to hear into these, this basically math program. It's narcissism.
So when we all hook up as one organism, there's nothing there.
Well, I can't say about the one organism, but certainly when we as individuals interact, I think a lot of like the AI, like things that are happening because of AI, and especially like the social things you hear, people are having girlfriends or whatever.
Oh yeah.
I think it says more about us than it says about the math program.
It says more about us than it does who?
The math program, underlying AI. It's just numbers. It's just big numbers at an incredibly large scale. And I think that like, as someone who's like maybe lonely, and uses a chat bot and feels a connection, there's nothing on the other. The chat bot has nothing. So obviously that's telling you more about the person who feels the connection.
What a great metaphor narcissist is.
I liked it.
Yeah,
It made me so I thought there is maybe a little bit of that also. Gilligan's playing with a lot of things.
A lot.
And I think he's doing it very well. And I think that he's because it's not just him writing and he created it, but it's written and directed by other folks. And there's just like, it feels like everything is very slippery so far, that there's not a lot to really, it does a good job of kind of putting you in Carol's shoes.
Yeah. You get pretty frustrated.
There's an element of like, what would I do? You as the viewer are also kind of, judging, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The third episode is kind of there to show us how much, if not everything, anything that the collective will do for Carol for whatever reason. We don't know why. And then in Please, Carol, this is the fourth and most recent one. I talked about, I love the way that Gilligan's able to set up tension through attention to detail. To see that applied to more of a science fiction narrative than just like Albuquerque Better Call Saul narrative.
This was exactly when you said this is the Better Call Saul episode.
Oh yeah.
I see, because you're like, I think I know what she's doing. I'm not 100% sure what she's doing, When
she's testing the anesthesia on herself, and she's recording herself, and then, you never know until she goes and tries it on. Well, she makes a mention of, it's going to work, or this is what I want. And she tries it on Zosa to tell her, how do we reverse this that's happened? And she can't quite get it out of her before many of the people around surround her. And I don't know, they don't threaten her, but they just keep saying, please, Carol, don't do this.
It's kind of scary.
It's creepy.
Surreal. It's unsettling.
Yeah, it's that glazed over look in their eyes. Well, anyway, like great scenes in Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, you don't really know why the character's doing it, and then you just know there's going to be a payoff. Knowing that there's a payoff is why you hang in there. You just like, what's this? And Gilligan's doing that on a minuscule scale in each episode, but he's doing it over on a long scale too, on a major scale too, with the whole series.
I think our interest, rightly or wrongly, I agree with you, Blaine, that it depends on, like, I'm expecting I'm going to get something in episode 8 or 10 or however many.
Yeah.
That makes the wait worth it.
Well done for Gilligan and the writers to have Carol both gay and having gone through conversion therapy. That says a lot in a short amount of time.
And it gives you a big insight into why Carol might be a bit hesitant about the new direction humanity is taking.
Yeah.
And why she might not exactly trust the official, we're all one, everything's great.
I'm really digging it. I did, the third episode, I wondered, am I enjoying this? And then the fourth one, I saw that I was. Because of that cold open, I'm going to go back to it. It was so great. If you've watched any of the shows that Gilligan's done, Carol is destined to meet up with him in an attempt at something pretty big.
Yeah. And, for that cold open, I think, at least for me, probably you too, I think pretty quickly you're like, I bet she's going to call him. Like, right? Like,
this is the moment where she calls him.
That this is the intersection, right? Mm-hmm. So you have, like, it's teased, right?
But he gets so hopeful.
Almost certain.
With that last phone call, because that's something that the others would never say.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is something like, fuck your mother or something.
Yeah.
in Spanish. Yesterday, we briefly mentioned Frankenstein. You got any lingering thoughts on Guillermo del Toro's version of Frankenstein?
Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein is a movie that dares ask America, do you like to parent?
Interesting. Sometimes yes. Is that an okay answer?
I think so.
All right. I may want to watch it then. This is the end of our episode. We split you up in two. We hope you enjoyed that way. We won't do that again. We'll just do our usual non-spoiler, take a break, spoiler next week, I think, because we won't have as much. Could be Train Dreams, could be Stranger Things, both on Netflix. A lot of y'all have Netflix. Seems to be like, Netflix is kind of the cable now.
Yeah,
everybody got that. Do you have the add-ons?
That's the thing. Yeah. Not everyone has the add-ons.
Like
everyone
Hulu.
has Netflix.
Yeah. All right. Well, or Apple in this case. By the way, I wanted to make mention before I say goodbye. What a pairing of Pluribus and Severance.
Yeah.
Jesus. Apple and it's on Apple. Let's go ahead and throw that in there. Do you want to write your essay now?
Yeah, please.
So we've reached the end for Adam, for Donovan. We're going to have Adam back pretty soon. And I'm Blaine. And we hope that you're not overdoing it with the cranberry sauce. Goodbye.